Welcome to episode 4 of the Flat 4 Offroad Podcast. I'm your host, Chase.
I'm Austin.
And today we have one of our other Flat 4 Offroad ambassadors, Jen, here today.
Hi.
So today, it's another one of those podcasts. We have a couple things I want to talk about, but other than that, we have anything and everything. So I think this is the first time you haven't been in any of my videos, right? I don't think so.
Not without my permission.
Okay, so I don't think you've been in any of them. Hopefully not. So I think the best thing to do is kind of start off, give a little introduction of maybe what you drive and a little bit of your background, and we can go from there.
Okay. I was going to start this podcast off just because I told Austin I was going to do this with a little ASMR. But because you guys don't have the crackly mics, it won't work.
No, it won't.
So I can't do it.
Yeah, that's
so you guys have to tune into a channel that I'll start eventually.
How do you do that? Does this stop it? Or?
Yeah, you need like cracklies, and then you like run your fingers on it, and it makes this cool crackly noise.
There's like a metal casing around it.
Like the old.
No, they all have them, but this essentially kind of softens the vocals.
Can I see it?
No, rip audio.
I told you. See, guys, you're welcome.
Oh no. Okay, if the audio is screwed up there for a second, I fixed it.
You're welcome.
Oopsie doodle.
Yeah. But anyways,
I'll figure out what that is because it sounds cool.
We'll do it. It's very fun. Anyway, okay, so I'm Jen.
Yes.
I drive the first new gen of the Bronco Sport Badlands.
Yes. In that awesome yellow. There's photos. There's definitely a lot of photos of it.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
She's a pylon. People call her a pylon.
I've never heard that.
Yeah. Just because she's really obvious to see.
It's close to that color.
It's pretty close. It comes in handy. I do some hiking guides and things like that, so people can recognize me in a parking lot. So works out well. Yeah, you're
just like, look out for the bright
landmark. Landmark.
Yeah. It's totally a landmark color, so it works in all seasons.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when we first met you, I think we met you at the first AOE Expo. Austin, did I get that right this time?
We didn't meet. We didn't meet.
We virtually met.
We virtually met. Yes.
And that was when did you just get it around that time?
I had it so that was in September, and I had got it the previous. Oh, well, I guess that March.
Okay.
So just a few months.
Awesome. Yeah. Because I remember it was Lee YYC Overland that connected us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, what was the first modification we did to that?
Lift kit.
The lift.
I like it.
We did the 1-inch Daystar lift. Yes. Hi, Daystar.
Daystar. Please sponsor us. Liz. And then, now it's got a few other modifications. What else does it have?
So it has the rack on it,
yes.
and then it also has what else is on there?
Bigger tires.
Yeah, bigger tires. Vision
wheels.
Vision wheels.
Vision wheels. Cooper tires.
And enthused roof box with the front runner roof rack.
Right.
And then what else?
That's it for now.
Yeah,
there's only 4,000 other things.
The list always grows.
Yeah. Uh-huh. It's coming. It's coming.
Exactly. And you just recently did a trip with it, right?
I did.
You did how many days down in the States?
So it was supposed to be 16 days. Yeah. It got cut to 13.
Okay. Yeah.
For no fault of our own.
Okay.
But we did 4,800 kilometers in 13 days. We went through
a fair amount of driving.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of driving. Yeah. I wouldn't do it again in that sense.
Yeah.
But we saw a lot of stuff I want to see in more detail, and some stuff I never want to see again.
Okay, perfect. Hey, that's fair. Yeah, now we'll know.
So it was a good trip. It was a good scout trip. Yeah, I guess you could call it.
For sure. So what was your route look like?
So we started here, went to Fernie, BC, then went through Eureka, Montana.
Yes.
Stopped in Whitefish overnight. And then after that, we went down to Idaho, stayed in a town just outside of Salmon, Idaho.
Oh, yeah.
Stayed there for a couple of days in 2 different places. One was we stayed in everything unbelievably crappy. Which
get the full experience.
Awesome. Yeah, we stayed in like a hunter's lodge. Yeah. We stayed in like really, I guess some people would say bad motels, but they were great. They had tons of character, and we stayed in a gypsy tent. We stayed in a bus, different places. But we hiked a couple days in Idaho, and then we went down to Pink Lake in Utah, camped what we thought was legal. We're not sure. Don't come after me. were gone.
It was AI generated.
Yeah, according to Google, you could camp there. So we're going to blame Google. Yeah, we were the only ones there. Yeah. We were right on the shore of the Pink Lake.
Oh yeah, those photos are really nice.
Yeah, and then we went into Salt Lake for 2 days. Went to the Bonneville Salt Flats, which was incredible. People that have reached out to me have asked me how that experience was, and it was the best. It was crazy fun. I can't describe the terrain because of course we don't have it here.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that slightly melted post-Chinook snow.
Yeah.
So it's sticky and slippery.
Yeah.
But because it's salt, it has like a crunchier feel to it. It's very confusing to explain. But drove the Bronco like a crazy person, to the point where the girl that I was with, my friend Cassandra, had to get out of the car. She didn't appreciate my craziness. So anyhow, luckily,
product testing.
That's what I like to call it.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Let's call that product testing. And then after that, we went to Moab. We were there for, I don't know how many days, 3 or 4 days, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Camped 2 nights, hoteled it 1 night.
Cool.
Did a bunch of driving, went to Arches, did all the things you do in Moab. We weren't there long enough for me. And then after that, we went up through Wyoming. So we went to Yellowstone.
Okay, yeah.
For a day, which was all that was really needed. We did the geyser trip.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a road trip and you hit, oh my God, probably 40 geysers.
Okay, yeah.
Not just Old Faithful. We did go and watch Old Faithful.
I think I've seen some.
That was on my bucket list. And so we just sat for an hour and a half waiting for Old Faithful because it's a timed thing. And that was awesome. And then we went to a very tiny town called Cokeville, Wyoming. Okay. And if anybody looks that up, it has a very checkered past.
Interesting.
The hotel that we stayed at, the guy who runs the hotel, his name's Paul. Shout out to Paul because he was amazing.
Awesome.
He also runs the ski hill, is also a principal and a math teacher. So it's one of those towns that one guy does all the things. So it's a really small town then? I think it's 600 people.
Really, really small.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Nice.
And we were the only women staying at this hunter's lodge. And he kept saying to us, you guys will be safe. And then we got to our room and there was no lock on the door. So I barred the door with chairs and other things, which
everything heavy, just, let's put it over here.
I didn't feel very safe, but it was a very, very fun up and we went up through Montana. We were going to go to East Glacier Park, but a couple of the highways were closed.
Oh,
and
actually,
we looked it up and it had 3 centimeters of snow, but all of our plans were canceled. So we stayed in this little tiny saloon type cabin place in Cameron, Montana.
Okay.
Which was a riot. And then we drove home the next day.
Interesting. Yeah. I want to make a trip down the glacier sometime. I think we were talking about this a while ago, Austin. There's that little tiny border crossing that was closed during COVID, but I don't know if it's reopened.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know which one I'm talking about. It's in Glacier, the national park there, and it's where you can cross the border, and it's just literally like a barricade in a little room that you're just I want to cross the border, and they're like, cool, thank you.
And I don't know if that's where we were going to end up crossing.
Yeah.
I think so.
Oh, maybe.
But we just didn't. And then we were gonna maybe just stay, find a place to stay in Glacier, but everything was closed for the season, and we're it's the end of September.
Yeah,
but it was closed.
Everything seems to, a lot of those touristy towns do seem to close, I guess.
After Labor Day, probably.
Yeah, because I went to Drumheller in September, and it was September 15th, and everything was closed. Alberta Parks was already...
Where was this?
A Drumheller.
In Drumheller?
In Drumheller. Closed? There's a bunch of really nice Alberta run parks, just a little bit outside of Drumheller if you don't want to stay in the campgrounds.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this is a really cool park. Get there. And then I'm looking, it's this is the last night for it. I'm like, wait, what? It's September. It does get pretty cold down there, but it's people can winter camp.
Yeah, that was weird. When we were going through Wyoming, so when we left Moab, it was 35 degrees, and when we got to Wyoming, it was -2. So we hit
you had to pack all your clothes.
Weather. Yeah, we hit all the weather on the way to Wyoming.
Yeah.
And the scenic drive through Yellowstone was open, but I think we saw 5 cars. So it wasn't busy.
That's nice.
Until we got to the main hotel to see the main geysers. It was packed. But yeah, it was freezing cold, but we didn't see anybody on the highway. I mean, we did a lot of trivia while we were in the car. Like, what's the capital? What's the population? What's this? And the population of Wyoming is less or just over 500,000 people.
Really?
So we barely ran into anybody at any time on the highway.
Interesting.
But yeah, we hit a lot of very weird weather. Like it snows differently there. I'm from Saskatchewan. I've lived in a few provinces and I've never seen snow like that. It was very, very weird snow.
Interesting.
And freezing cold, even though it wasn't cold for us, like Albertans.
Yeah, you're like, it's another day.
It was so cold and it was maybe -5, but we were freezing and brought all our clothes. We were prepared, but very weird weather.
Is it humid? I don't think it's humid up there.
No, it's not. It's just, and it's not even the elevation. We're higher here. But I don't know maybe we just weren't prepared, or maybe because we just left +30. It was a bit much. We all caught colds and it was brutal. But anyway, it was beautiful. Beautiful trip.
Yeah,
beautiful
I definitely seen you posted tons of really amazing photos.
I did
of everything.
Too many photos.
No.
Too many
It was awesome to see. I'm sure anyone that's following Flat 4 has definitely seen a lot of your posts and your vehicle on there. But you mentioned you were doing, besides checking out the trails and stuff, you're doing some hiking and other stuff. So you're a fairly outdoorsy person from my understanding.
Yes. Yeah.
What's some of the stuff you like doing in the outdoors?
Well, I started hiking when I was a fetus, apparently. My dad was in the military and then was very, very outdoorsy. So I learned from a very young age to figure out how to be outside. Yeah. Now, this was back in I don't want to say how old I am, but in the 70s, when you didn't wear a hat or bring water or a first aid kit, you brought a book and a pack of smokes. And that was how you survived.
Austin's all you need.
Austin's like, damn, I grew up in the wrong era.
Yeah, honestly.
So did we learn about safety? Not so much.
Yeah.
So when I got a little bit older, I did a lot of safety classes, cool. Wilderness first aid.
Yeah. Have you done what's the 120 hour, the big one?
The big one. Yeah, I did that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've done a lot of dumb stuff also. Yes. I do a lot of solo stuff that I don't want to talk about because I'll probably get in trouble. But I have done a lot of solo trips, backcountry trips. And I've always done that stuff. I love being outside. I call the mountains my church. I know a lot of people do that, but I've been doing that for I don't know how many years now, 40 some odd years. Nice. And I just feel most comfortable outside.
Yeah.
So awesome. I'd rather be there.
Yeah, no, for sure. That makes sense. So you said you spent your time in a few different provinces. Is there like a favorite place or you've been, or is Alberta really your favorite place?
Alberta is my favorite place. And I'm not from here, so I'm not loyal in that sense. I was born in Saskatchewan. Yeah. My dad was in the Air Force, traveled a little bit just in Canada. Yeah. But having now been to 25 states, a few places in Europe and most of the provinces, I think Alberta has the most diverse terrain. We can literally see desert, we can see dolomites, we can see mountains, lakes, rivers, heavy forests, different types of forest.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I think here is a pretty good place to be in terms of terrain. So yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely agree with that being able to when I went to Drumheller, right? Where it's an hour east, go an hour west, you're in Ghost. It's an amazing place. And I've been asked when I was in Vancouver for a year there, they're like, why are you going back to Alberta? I'm like, it takes me 3 hours to get anywhere where there's no people. Here we drive up to Ghost and get on some of the trails and you don't see people for during the weekday, where I was camping drove up to Squamish and did some trails out there, even on the way out in the logging roads, you're still there's 20, 30 people and you're like, where's everyone coming from? Well, Vancouver, right? The mainland. It's a lot busier there. And it's really beautiful there.
Right.
I don't know. Have you spent a lot of time out on the coast?
I haven't. No? I've been to the coast a few times, but nothing significant that really made any impression on me. I mean, I love the ocean. I've never been to the island. I'm the worst.
It's my. I was going to go last June, but that's when they had all the fires, and they're like, you can take the detour, and everyone's taking the detour, the 4-hour detour down south. Right. And I was like, well, considering no one uses the radio properly on normally, I'm assuming everyone that's going on there now is definitely not using the radio, right? Because it's a logging road. It's a radio controlled road. So I was like, not even going to try that. Not even worth it. Because
just harking back to what you said about it not being busy, that's one thing I did notice when we were driving through Montana and Idaho and Utah is there were no breaks in population. So even if there wasn't a town, it wasn't like here where there's, a ranch or a farm that takes up thousands of acres. It was just house, all beside the highways. And we only were on the interstate in just outside of Salt Lake for maybe an hour and a half. We took all the side roads. So even to see that many people was shocking to me. Of course, I'm sounding ignorant because I know the US has 10 times the population we do. So, I mean, I'm not that daft, but it was very weird to just know that within 2 seconds, I'm going to run into another person. As opposed to, is there no silence? The only time we hit that was Wyoming.
Okay.
Because apparently no one lives in Wyoming, which is unfortunate. It's beautiful. But yeah, it was very shocking, like you were saying, how you can be in Alberta and drive an hour and not run into a town or a gas station.
Yeah, exactly.
And feel quite isolated despite having very large cities here. Yeah. So it's an interesting dichotomy here.
Oh, for sure. No, and like those multiple trips I made out to Vancouver, you'd be driving some of those roads and it's like, you're not going to see anyone for the next 2 hours. Like I did when I did that trip down, is it Arrowhead Lake? What's the lake that we go to? The one with the campsite on it.
You mean Kootenai Lake?
No, the big one. Is it Arrowhead?
No.
It's the one by Revy. Anyways,
Can you guys smell the wood burn? Sorry.
No.
I'm putting you on the spot here. I would have to look at my maps. When I did that trip when I was going down to Vancouver and they closed Highway 1 and I'm like, I'm going to go on an adventure. And I did the whole logging road there.
Right.
Not a soul for like 4 hours. And then by the time I got on the main highway, I was one of the highways that go to, what's that town south of Shuswap? I can't remember. But one of the side highways, super like windy, not a soul for like another hour on a highway. And it's like, wild. Insane. Maybe
unless you do it on a Friday, then it was stupid. The detour around. Yeah, it was a train wreck when we went that way.
Oh, yeah. Because did you take the ferry? See, I just went down Arrowhead and down the logging road. Seoul. There's a camp or a really cool skiing area called Seoul. Have you ever heard of it? You? Mm-hmm. No, it's
can't afford to ski anymore.
Whistler's $200 tickets.
This is going to turn into a therapy session. Poor Austin.
No, I don't care.
Speaking of skiing, our season sucks right now. We got Nikiska open, but it's Ice Kiska. Sunshine.
It's great for what I was doing today. There's like no snow.
Was it?
Yeah.
Really? You were
crispy, but
where were you at?
Before the Wipers campground.
Okay, yeah.
What's one thing I don't do is I don't do winter stuff. So like in the sense that I don't ski or snowboard, I have very bad PTSD about that stuff.
Okay, yeah.
But I do snowshoe, and I started stupid. I started and finished within like 3 weekends ice climbing. That is just I don't. Good for you've done it.
No, I'll top rope. I'll lead. I'll do every other. Well, not free solo. I'll do every other type of climbing. Ice climbing is one that I'm on the edge about. It's spooky. The only ice climbing I would do is top rope ice climbing, where you can anchor up top and then on like a tree, anchor on something solid, because probably as you experienced, like ice climbing is such a, and even the people that are super skilled in it, they're like, it's a no fall sport. You do not fall. And it's like, but you're climbing, you will fall.
It is, I mean, I'm an intense person and I can be very focused, and I like the flow of being focused on a thing.
Yeah.
The any slight noise. So that means a slight breeze or a leaf falling or like up in the trees or something, I think the ice is cracking.
Oh yeah.
So I just panic.
Yeah.
And I just freeze.
Yeah.
And people are like, "You're fine. Just keep your screw in." And I'm like, "Nope, good. We're done.
I'm
We're
done
out.
here.
Get me out of here." Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, this is supposed to hold me. What?
Yeah. I don't know what that reel is or TikTok thing or whatever, but that voiceover where it's like, "We could be having a coffee. We could be having dinner." I'm like, "Yeah, let's do that."
Yeah, let's not
get
do
me
that.
off this waterfall.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, they're like, it's a no fall sport. It's like, but you're putting anchors in and you're putting like fall protection in. If you're gonna fall, what's the point of putting it in the first place?
Yeah,
it's like,
it's just not.
Yeah,
it's not. It got too scary for me. So I'm like, yeah, no, my
yeah,
limits.
exactly. Yeah, I will like,
Hard pass.
I'll do other types of climbing. That climbing, I'll take a pass on for. As I said, top rope, ice climbing, I would probably do. But anything other than that, that's a pass for me right now.
Okay, well, I'll come hold your hand if you ever do that because you're gonna need it. It's terrifying.
It's like, yeah, it's you watch some of the people and where's some places like Grotto Canyon, I think.
Yeah, Grotto Canyon's good.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name. My memory is gone. What's wrong with us? Why can't we think of anything?
I don't know. It's because there's a camera. That's why.
No, I don't know.
It just
is that
pulls
what
it
it
up.
is?
Yeah.
Is it all your guys' fault?
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it. It's a big. It's where the green monster is. So it's off of Kananaskis. It's like a 12 people.
Yeah.
I can't hear you all internet yelling at me.
Yeah, they're all like
yelling at your car, yelling. I can't remember the name of the hike. But anyway, it's where the Green Monster Falls are, and people will ice climb there as well.
Yeah.
But I just snowshoe it. I don't need to go up the fall.
There's also where we do the falls down in Ghost, right? Transalta. There's quite a few different ice climbs.
Right.
Where they GOBA are where there's like 4 or 5 as you kind of go along the falls, and it's great because you'll be doing the run to the falls, and you'll just see like this stock Tundra or stock Pathfinder or whatever, and they're like, you're 100% going climbing because they're on stock vehicles, and they're like, everyone in their like lifted Jeeps, and then there's a stock Pathfinder or whatever. Like, I want to go climbing. I'm going to get there no matter what. It's awesome. There's some pretty cool,
crazy,
cool vehicles we've seen out there over the years when we're doing that trail.
Yeah.
What's one of the oddest vehicles we've seen? Every year we drive past and we're like, that's awesome, whatever it made of. There's always tons of Subarus, but other than that, I'm trying to think what else.
Vans, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Lines and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
What was the truck we saw last year or earlier this year? The one that ended up in the water? Because that was
Power Stroke.
Yeah, the one that went over the ice bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a 350 Power Stroke white or dually. Yeah, that was a good one.
And yelled at me because he wouldn't let me spot because I was a girl. If you're out there, bud,
I'm sure
see you on the trail.
For some reason, I don't see you on the trail. Yikes!
Shots fired.
Oh boy!
Shots fired.
Well, time to end the podcast. We made it 4 episodes.
Sorry, sponsors.
That was a good run, Austin. That's hilarious. Yeah, no,
they told me not to swear. They didn't tell me anything else.
I mean, it's marked. It's fine.
Right.
So you mentioned a lot about all the different outdoor activities you've done. How did you get into like the overlanding and off-roading?
Well,
because that's always interesting.
I was tricked into it. No, I wasn't.
It's a trap.
It's a trap, actually.
It's an expensive pastime.
If anybody can see this, help me. No, I'm just kidding. Poor Chase.
Yikes.
I'm just trying to make him choke, actually. So when I was a kid, my dad had a Bronco. He went through a couple of different Broncos when I was growing up. The old school, unsafe, you will die in this vehicle Bronco, which was awesome. Loved it. I didn't learn anything in that sense. Like I was not mechanical. I'm still not mechanical. But what I liked about it was being able to get places. It's too far to walk to. But once you're there, you can go hike.
Yeah.
And that's what we would do. Then when this Bronco and Bronco Sport came, or I heard it was coming out, I was like, I wonder if I should get that thing. I had an Escape before, which was fine. I didn't do anything with it. It was my grocery getter. And my kid and I had a conversation about getting this Bronco, and he was like, you should get it. I think it would be really fun. And I was going to get the actual Bronco, but it was a little, it wasn't cost effective.
You don't say.
It wasn't in my price range.
Yeah.
And I just had a tougher time physically trying to put the thing together and take it apart. I'm not that strong, and I'm not that patient with trying to put everything exactly where it's supposed to be. So I'm like, nah, I'll just get this thing and then see what we can do with it. And then it was through you guys, through Lee, who stalked me. No, she did not. She saw my.
Lee's not even here to defend herself.
and she doesn't have to defend herself because this is totally not her fault. But I actually took a photo of the first message she sent me, which was, "Hey, nice rig."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Who's this person? I don't know what they are, who they are. If it's because of, I didn't know what gender. I didn't know anything about this person."
It was
because
just
it's YYC Overland. And I'm like, I don't know who this person is. So, and then I just wrote back, "Thanks." And then she wrote back, "Oh, you're at the expo." And that's how it started.
Yeah. And
then got in touch with you guys, and here we are. And you guys are now telling me things that I can do with my vehicle that I don't think I can.
You've done,
but I'm doing them, and it's very fun.
Yeah, and you make it look easy.
I just want to go nuts with it now. So now I'm addicted.
Yeah, that's how it happens. I think we talked about on one of the. Was it the first? I think the first episode when we talked about kind of how Austin got started and how I got started. It was like you do one thing, and you're like, "Oh, this is fun," and then you modify, and you're like, "Oh, I can do even more."
Right.
And then you do a little bit more, and you're like, "Oh, but what if I want to modify?" Yeah, it's like that snowball where it's just like you throw a little snowball and it just gets bigger and bigger.
And I'm not a confident person when it comes to doing physical things. Like I'm a cerebral person. I have a cerebral type job.
Yeah.
So when I'm outside and I can hike and pitch a tent, I feel very, it helps me feel a little bit more capable. And then learning this skill, art, sport, I'm going to call all of it.
Yeah.
It's all the things because it is. It's really helping me come to terms with the fact that, I can do that. And again, I'm not trying to turn this into any sort of awkward conversation, but having been in it for a year and a little bit, women that I have met in this space are very, I don't want to generalize all the women. Some of the women that I've met in this space are nervous about the space.
For sure.
Because some of the guys that they have been approached by in the space are very, not happy about it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be very politically correct here. I hope this is coming off as kind as possible because my inner voice is telling me to say what I should say and I'm not gonna.
There's just a lot of know-it-alls and anything. Right?
Yeah, it's really rough. And I've come across it a couple of times, even being out with you guys and running into other people on the trail. And they're like, "Oh, you think you're this and you think you're real." And I'm like, and I try not to get mama bear about my car because it's a car.
Yeah.
But also trying to foster a safe place for women to come in. And I'm not trying to make it exclusive to women, but for more women to come in and say, "Hey, we can have fun. We can figure this out. We can do this."
Exactly.
We don't need men. Please, let's not go there.
Providing not just the opportunity,
but just a safe space where there's no competition. It's just, hey, let's see what your rig can do. Let's see if, work on your confidence or that sort of thing. And that's what I've noticed for myself.
Yeah.
So I figure if I've noticed it, maybe one other person will notice it, and then it'll be a waterfall effect.
Yeah,
is what I hope.
No, for sure, definitely. I think that's one of our things when we started is like once a lot of people in that space where they don't have like the Jeep on 37s and they're coming from aren't coming from such a technical background that like Austin, you've probably been doing it half your life at this point. Around there.
29 years.
Close. Yeah. So someone that's just getting started, right? It's like, where do you start? And a lot of as you mentioned, like sometimes you're on a trail and you're like, can I have a spot? Can I get help? And some people are like, figure it out yourself. Like we've all heard stories of that, right? And that's why we kind of do these trail runs. Like, because a lot of people with those crossovers are getting into it. They're like, where do I start? If you go with people with Jeeps and 40s, a lot of times they'll be like, "Oh, this is easy." And you're like, "But I don't even know where to start," right? That's how I started with my cars. I think it's like my second ever, no, it's probably my first ever overlanding camping video. I was like, I've heard this place called Ghost. You can camp in places. I'm just going to drive up. I completely missed Transalta. Didn't know I could go down Transalta. Didn't know I could go Wipers Valley Road. So I ended up on like where it forks off. And I think there's like Hunter Valley Road or whatever. And then it goes back out to that little town.
To the town.
There's a big opening that I like drove up and I was like, I think I can camp here. Also, camp dead center in like this big open area. Super windy. The tent was like flapping all night.
Right.
I'm like, I've made a mistake, but it was still lots of fun. And then
Right.
I was like, I need to do some stuff. And then I think briefly after that is when you took me and said, let's go down to the falls. And I was like, what?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not knowing, again, I got this Bronco for mostly nostalgic reasons. Shout out to my dad and that whole era. But then when I, met you guys and you're like, well, we've never actually worked with this platform either. So let's see what it can do. And then being frustrated sometimes and too many buttons and too many things and too much
all
going
the
on.
assists.
All the assists. I have no idea what's going on. Which is why Austin and I we don't get cranky with each other, but it's like, what mode do I try this time? Like the video that I posted of me trying to go up that hill. And I'm like, what mode?
It's
give me a mode.
I'm like, I tried 2 and it didn't work. What mode is going to work? So, not being afraid to experiment, I think I get a lot of joy out of that. Like believe it or not, I get a lot of joy out of messing up. It just makes me so 100%. Happy because it's like, okay, well now the part of my brain that works probably the best, not to sound arrogant, is my problem solving brain. Yeah. So being able to go, okay, that looks horrible. Yeah. But now we have an opportunity to actually shine, like show what we're made of, and then go, okay, now next time switch modes or do this line. Yeah.
And then you have that experience. That's like one of the awesome things about going on these trail runs is we kind of start to understand these vehicles. And then when, like, as we said, I think your Bronco Sport was one of the first ones we've ever seen because as you said,
no one had seen it.
Yeah. So it was cool to be able to go, oh, we know technically what this like platform's made of. Like we were talking, it's got the RS rear diff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's got these really cool features, but we're like,
they're speaking language I don't know.
It's got fast car parts.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see.
To me like I'm a 3-year-old.
So we're like, it's got these parts. So what is it capable of? Let's see what it's capable of. And then kind of like learning through you is one of the great things. And I'm very much like you, where that one video where my tire blew up in Kamloops, everyone's like, you probably hated your life at that time. I was like, no, I think I mentioned this in the video. You take 10 minutes, you go, well, that was dumb. Okay. And then you go, okay, now how do I figure out how to get out of this problem? How do I figure it out? And I think, again, that's one of the things that's really fun about driving these crossovers, specifically like the Subarus. It's like a lot of times people are like, you take be up here. How did you get up here? You're like, oh, a little bit of problem solving. You just got to take a different line. You got to take it straight on. You kind of got to sneak around or whatever. And that's like super rewarding, as you said. Yeah. You're like, I figured it out. And then you get another bit of a reward when people go, like when we did the Wilderness Trail run, and they're like, what are these Subarus doing at Margaret Lake? We had 5 stock out, or I think they're all Outbacks.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And they're like, what are they doing up here? Did you take the normal way? And we're like, They're like, oh. They're like, we have a friend with an SUV. Do you think they could do it? And then we started talking to them, and we're like, yeah, you could do it.
Drive smarter. It's not that hard.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I think at least from people that I've been speaking to that aren't in the overlanding 4x4 space, when you ask them what 4x4 is, and I love asking that question because everyone's answer is so different. So they think Baja, or they think extreme rock crawling, or they think of different things. They don't think that what I do is 4x4ing. And it's like, well, hang on a second. I guess it depends on how you define it. And I'm not here to define it at all, because to me it shouldn't be.
It's, everyone's different. Right.
And I noticed when I went to Margaret Lake in my vehicle with like pimped out Jeeps, and we got to the lake, and there were a couple people there that we ran into from a different group, and they were like, how did you get this thing up here? And I'm like, well, I went a little slower. I took maybe a different line. I was also the only one that did a couple of really steep hills. Like no one in the group was like, well, we're not doing that. And I'm like, I'm going to try it.
You're like, I've done this in the other places.
And I'm going to try it. And I scared myself because I almost failed. Almost got into some trouble, but it was, I don't know. I think it's just trying to beat down that barrier. There isn't a barrier. Okay. Having maybe, riding a little higher or having bigger tires or whatever can obviously help, but you can get to so many places.
Exactly.
Just like you guys have shown me, even as before you guys did anything to my vehicle. And then going, holy crap. And now that I have 3 things done on my vehicle, I'm like, let's trash it. I don't want to trash it because it's my grocery getter, but also
you're like, what can it do?
Yeah, just pushing it.
Yeah.
And then having you guys be like, because again, I was saying this before we were on air, but on air, how old am I?
That's still a term, isn't it?
Still a term. We still use.
Oh, is that still a term? Okay, not to sound like WKRP.
No, totally
callback reference. But getting to be with you guys and go, okay, we're not here to wreck your vehicle either. Yeah. We want to respect the space. We want to respect your vehicle. And if you're scared, tell us, and we won't make you do a thing. Yeah. But we also are going to sit here and tell you, you can do the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And once you do it once, and I remember just when we were out a week ago and did that hill. Yeah. And I slid down and I heard oh my God, that video makes me laugh so hard hearing you go, oh yeah, I hit that tree once. But the first time I did that, the first time you guys took me out, I was terrified. And I was like, no, I'm not doing this. This is way too scary. I remember I cried on the way home. I was just so scared. No, not because they're not bullies. Not because you guys told me to do it.
Yes. Okay.
He's an emotional bully, the worst kind.
Chase isn't a bully. Just Austin has this look of utter disappointment on his face at all times.
Ouch.
It tracks, right?
I'll own it.
But after that, and just slowly gaining that confidence. And I have to I'm really bad at this. My kid will call me on this, but he'll be like, you waver between thinking you can't do anything to thinking you can do anything in a snap. And so I'm like, oh, I can do that. Oh, no, wait, let's just take a minute. Take a pause. You actually can't do that, but we can probably do a different line.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then sometimes I follow Austin and get in trouble.
Yeah, because Austin's always the one. He's like, oh, well, I've done this before in this, where everyone's like, I don't even think that's possible. Austin's like, oh yeah, I've done that. So I'm going to try the harder line. That's why he's turned me into taking all the party lines and be like, I think it's possible with an open diff and only so much travel sometimes.
Just drive smarter.
That's going to be Austin's new line, is just drive smarter.
No offense, anyone.
Well, it's like that.
You don't need lockers, just drive smarter.
I need a lock. We gotta test out a locker in that Forester because, well, after the
just drive smarter.
Well, I make it easy if I drive the right line. If we're specifically talking that dirt hill, because that's such a fun thing. We take everyone to it. It's there's very little consequences. There's that one tree, but in the winter you might slide down to it, but usually you can stop. But yeah, I've tried so many times to go straight up where it gets really cross-axly, and before it got really dug out, it wasn't that bad. Now it's
it's super dug out. Even from the first time you guys took me there, I'm like, it's really dug out.
But you could still take the party line with
which was
amazing.
Scary,
it looks so cool.
Scary. So yeah, being in it I don't know if anyone out there in the world has this car that I have, but the hardest thing for me to get used to is being on 2 wheels and recognizing that my car doesn't want to be on 2 wheels either. And so it's going to sound like a transformer and make all these noises. That's probably sound horrible. Weird noises that it's going to correct itself and transfer power and do all these amazing things. But the first time it happened, I was terrified. I'm like, this
doesn't sound right.
And Austin's just there hanging on my window being like, no, it's fine. Yeah. See how fun this is. We're rocking. It's totally fun. I'm like, is it your idea of fun and mine are different apparently. But then when I did it just this past weekend or whenever we went a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh yeah, it's scary when you can only see sky or when you're only on maybe 1.5 wheels. It feels awkward. Yeah. And I want to punch it. I want to hit that skinny pedal and get out of it. But sitting in that space, to sound all ethereal here, sitting in that uncomfortable space for a second is actually really beneficial.
Yeah, oh no,
because
for sure.
then when it happens again, it's just muscle memory. You're like, oh yeah, I've been here, done that. No. You just work it out, Bronco, and her name's Carmen.
Carmen,
you just work it out, Carmen, and let me know when you're ready.
No, for sure. I think every time we go on anything cross-axle-y, I'm always trying to get myself on 2 wheels just to see how it feels. And I've got some pictures where I can almost stand under the rear end of my car because the front's dipped down. Specifically, I think Quirk Ridge was the big one where I could stand under and be like, oh yeah, just a standard inspection. And you're right though. You do it more and more. I'd have me do that 2 years ago. I've been like, what am I doing? Yeah. But now I'm just like, oh, this is fun. This is the party line.
Yeah. I try and take it more as I'm on a ride right now. Like I'm sort of in control of the ride, but because I'm sort of in control of the ride, it's a little less panicky in my head. Yeah, and then also knowing that when I'm with guys like you're not going to let anything happen. Yeah. Like if something does happen, I know I'm safe. Yeah. Like we'll rescue you. We'll do whatever we need to do. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it. We'll problem solve.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's why I'm trying to, like I said, with all these other communities that I'm in on Facebook or whatever, mostly with other girls, trying to be like, it's okay. Like maybe you weren't raised mechanically or maybe you weren't raised this way or whatever the reasoning is, but it's okay. We're going to teach you to be uncomfortable because then you're going to gain that confidence. And it's tenfold for me compared to a year ago. It's awesome to the point where I might be getting a little cocky.
Oh, don't worry. There'll be something you'll try to do and your car will be like, yeah, sorry, that ain't happening. And you'll be like, okay, maybe I thought a little bit too much of that.
Well, that happened last year when I went through when we were on that berm and then Austin went into the snow and then I'm like, I'm going to go too. And then I remember before I went, you yelled at me. You're like, don't go. And I said, I want to be like you when I grow up. And then I went in and then sank 4 feet.
Those are pretty big rocks, Like in the summertime.
And then I got rescued by a Subaru. Yeah. Which was awesome.
Yeah. No, that was one of the bigger trail runs that in the winter, but I guess we've had
very fun.
The last couple of weekends we've had quite a few. How many times have you been out? Because you've been out even more than I have been. You went this weekend too, right? Or this
on Friday?
Yeah, on Friday. What trail did you do, or what area?
We went to McLean Creek. It's ultra icy.
I was gonna say it looks very packed. You do West Fisher?
They didn't make it very far.
Okay, yeah, because I noticed the little turning before you get to that first part where there's a big rock that I don't.
No bueno,
just
no
ice.
No bueno, just too icy.
Yeah.
It's hard when it's even wet.
It's all in the trees.
Yeah.
It's shaded the whole day.
McLean closes in the winter, correct?
December 1st.
Okay, and then the falls opens. Okay, that makes sense. Because I for some reason I was like, oh, McLean's still open, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't know it was open either. Yeah. I thought it closed down, but then you said it closes down just for like
the general store closes at like Labor Day, whatever you want to call it, and then the access road or whatever, the forestry road, that closes on the 1st or 31st or something like that, whatever of this month. Yeah. But
there's only 30 days in November.
Whatever.
I don't know.
I'm gonna get kicked so hard under this table.
I live on my calendar, so if there's 35 days in this month, there's 35 days in this month. I don't know.
Time is an illusion. Everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
it's true.
You did, and then you've. Have we mentioned this on the last podcast? Did we mention you got a Jeep again?
Nope.
No. So what other vehicle did you get? So
a Wrangler.
A Wrangler. What year? It's
2012.
2012.
No options.
Manual.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's soft top too.
Yes.
And what's the plans for that?
I don't know. That's Lee's show, not mine.
YYC Overland. Get back on this podcast. We need to hear about the plans for this.
It's getting stuff and things.
Yeah, I know, because I keep on
seeing.
They're
already ordered though.
Yeah. I seen parts going through and I was like, oh, Austin. I was like, oh, Austin's got a lot of sales going through today. I'm like, oh, these are Jeep parts. Wait, these are for his Jeep, for Lee's Jeep. Yeah, for sure. But you took that out once, and then I seen you take the Subarus out this Friday, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then before that, we did two events in a weekend. We did the Wilderness Trail Run with Scott Subaru. We had how many? I think we had 13 Subarus. If you guys are coming from other places, you've probably seen this because I post that quite a bit in different groups. And to the point where people are posting in the Calgary or like the Alberta Subaru Club, and they're like, I just seen like 14 Subarus down at Ghost, and they're like, who are these people? And I'm like, that's us. Mm-hmm. And they're like, can I join? And I was like, yes, here's the way to get on the mailing list or whatever for the event. But we did that where we did pretty much the riverbed to where it's closed. We definitely want to go to the falls when it's open, and then that was the Wilderness Trail Run. And then the day after that, we did a recovery event.
Yes.
Where we went up into Wipers area, and we did a really fun trail actually. We scouted it the night before, and I've never done that trail before.
It was very cool.
It was a fun little trail.
It's pretty punchy and short, but It's fun.
It's very fun. Yeah. And I sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, finish your thought, please.
I don't know where I was going.
Okay. This is where this conversation ends being linear. Wow, you were so focused there for a second.
Nope,
so
never
sorry.
focused.
So sorry.
Never focused.
Yeah, that was good because I think a lot of girls at that event were either hadn't done overlanding in a very long time or hadn't done anything like that ever, or they were all there to learn about how do we get out of stuff. Mm-hmm. Of course, with the emphasis being, never go by yourself.
Yeah. And make sure not to yank on those Subaru projectiles.
Right, exactly.
The screw into hooks are
and
not cool.
I've heard so much positive feedback about that event and how many people that were upset that they missed it just because of timing or whatever.
Yeah.
So it would be great to be able to do that again. But that's I think where I came from, which was, okay, well, this is great to go and have fun and do party lines and stuff, but what if something happens?
Yeah. How to get out of it.
Maybe that's just my trauma-induced childhood, but what if something happens? What if something happens? Mm-hmm. And then learning how all those things work together, it was really good.
Yeah, no, those were
super helpful.
Always good to know because, as we said, there's been definitely things like Austin going through all the times you've done stuff. You have lots of experiences where like people weren't doing stuff correctly, and you're like, do not do this from my own experience because it ends badly. So it's good to share that knowledge, right? Because someone might not even know if I ever heard of it, right? So it's good to kind of go about talking about that and having that conversation for sure. Yeah.
And even if we didn't, practice a lot of it or whatever at that particular event, it's in our head somewhere. Exactly. So if it is a necessary callback, we can be like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. They told me not. Okay, got it. It's there somewhere in our
you're like,
brains.
I've seen this thread in tow hook. We're not using a static rope on that.
Right, exactly. And so even if it's just even if it's just a little thing, it's like, okay, or how to put things together or
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah, it's very valuable.
When we were talking about that, we were like, do we just get a vehicle stock? And I was like, no. It would be fun to just put a vehicle and get a vehicle stock and be like, then let's pull it out. But it just complicates stuff. And if you want, specifically coming from like a teaching background, if you want stuff in a very like nice formal box, it's nice to have everything to plan. Where if you get a vehicle stock, it's one of those things where, as we were talking about, sometimes you have to get creative. When we did Margaret Lake in the winter and we didn't have a soft shackle, so we used a tree saver and then to pull it on the angle. Like sometimes you have to get creative because stuff doesn't go quite to plan, right? Because traditionally you just want to pull off, so like in that snow, you just want to pull off, but it'll just pull them into the ditch. So we had to kind of problem solve.
Yeah, that was a very fun experience.
Yeah,
not gonna lie. Yikes!
It wasn't even that icy either, which was kind of dope.
Yeah, hopefully we get some more like fresh snow. I want to go.
It's icy now, so now it's gonna remain icy.
Yeah,
we're not gonna get snow for a while, unfortunately. It looks like so it'll just get slicker and slicker.
I have that video on the Flat 4 page where I was driving through Devil's Gap and there's that riverbed area and it's just fresh snow, no tracks. That was one of the coolest things ever. I was like, that's so much fun. But sexy. It's rare to get.
That's sexy. No snow or fresh snow is sexy.
Yeah, it's so good. I was like, This is so nice. But I don't know if we'll get that for a while because we're not supposed to get snow for a while. I'm like, I'm not going skiing for another month at least. Right. Sunshine's open one chairlift. I'm like, I'll just wait.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, we're in a rough period right now with weather in that sense that, like you said, everything's freezing and slippery and slick and gross or super muddy. Yeah, and then we've got a whole other problem. So.
Yeah. Well, if it get down to cold or be really cold, that'd even be nice because then we could go on Ghost Lake in like 2 months. But at this rate, if it's 10 degrees for the next month, Ghost Lake isn't being frozen until like middle of January.
Right.
Unless we get some -30.
That was another thing that you guys did is you took me to Ghost Lake.
Ghost Lake, we're definitely planning to do some more this year. It's so much fun.
If anyone thinks that you can't drift a Bronco Sport, you can.
You can. And there's nice. And there's lots of proof of it, lots of photos.
And it's insane. Made my dog sick. Sorry, Kato.
Oops.
Car sick my dog.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a riot. Yeah. Once you turn off all of the buttons,
All
and
the
basically
assists.
tell the computer to say, I'm not crashing. I don't need traction. It took, I don't know how long.
It
3 or
turned a
4
lot
minutes.
of stuff off.
Yeah, it took 3 or 4 minutes.
It's
for
like the
us to go
space shuttle
through.
launch. You have to like flick all the
Yes,
switches.
I felt very NASA.
We're prepared for launch.
That's the closest I'm going to get to NASA ever. But yeah, it was very fun.
That totally makes sense for sure.
Yeah, the like crash avoidance was turning on and stuff, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. And I don't like this crash avoidance screen.
No?
It's terrifying. It's
Inter-
bright red. It makes all these horrible alarms and the whole screen lights up almost like I have 3D glasses on, like it's coming at me
Yikes.
to tell me that I'm going to crash. I don't like it.
Yeah,
It's terrifying.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
Simple that down, Ford. Ford, if you're listening.
Please.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
It's so great being in Chase's head right now.
Oh, my head is all over the place. I got a list of things we've kind of covered everything. I only have 3 notes here of what I want to talk about, so that's good. And then I realized the last one was Black Friday, but this podcast's going out after Black Friday, so
I don't talk about that.
if you missed it, you missed it. You should follow us on Instagram or any of the social medias to keep up with the sales because Black Friday has happened and it is now over. So you missed it. I'm sorry. But yeah, I guess we're talking about Ghost Lake there for a little bit. We definitely are planning to get out again. I'm hoping they'll still have every year it kind of changes on the track.
We could do a Calgary Jeep Girls event there too. I think that'd probably be
interesting.
Even just like a winter driving.
Yeah, there were at the GTF Outside event that you guys did also, one of the girls there, her husband wanted to check out this Ghost Lake thing too, because he was like, I'm sorry, you guys do what now?
Yeah.
And he has a pretty slick little car and he was like, I'll do that. So it's insane. I love it out there. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, especially when you get earlier season and the tracks are fresh. It's really nice. If you go late season, some stuff gets really like bumpy,
right?
Which is not good for the people with their like drift cars, but with the off-road vehicles, it's still a lot of fun,
right?
Until
because it's like both.
Yeah, exactly. Also, I did another thing I did in Ghost last year was I kind of did like the whole loop around the lake. There's a fair little drive around there.
Oh, cool.
There's like a little ice road, I'm going to call it, that goes out to like all the fishing huts, and then you can kind of go past it and loop around, and then come back around on the other side. It's
on the other side of the lake?
Yeah.
Like not where we were, but the other side.
You can do the whole little loop.
The little island and stuff. You can go over
that's
there.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've only paddleboarded out there, so I don't know what's going on out there.
Yeah, there's lots of like ice fishing huts, so they have kind of a network of trails that kind of go around there. I don't know. I think I asked you, and we couldn't figure it out. Is like, can you camp on the ice? Like, because it's the lake, but I don't know because there's ice fishing huts. So I'm assuming some people can camp, but I don't know what's the rules around camping on there. It'd be kind of cool to do.
Couldn't tell you.
You mean like throwing up your tent on your car?
Yeah, just camping on the frozen lake. Yeah. I don't know what the rules.
Truly
if anyone works
Canadian.
for Parks Alberta, no, who would conservation? Alberta Conservation wants to answer that question. That'd be wonderful. Because
I don't know who's in.
I have someone I can think of that I might be able to ask, but he's down south.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
But I don't even know if
you
that's
know who
conservation.
You are.
If
you know you are, so just DM us and tell us.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, but it'd be a cool little thing because it's not often you camp on a lake. A frozen
in the
lake.
winter.
I don't see why you couldn't.
It seems very Canadian.
Yeah, yeah. You just find like a ice fishing hole. You like fishing.
It'd be cold.
It would be cold and
in
windy.
the middle of the night.
I camped in minus 32. I'm fine. I got my diesel heater and my minus 32 sleeping bag. We're good.
To each their own.
Yeah, you said you like winter camping.
I do.
Just not that cold?
Not on a lake.
Oh, okay. You could even build like a little Quincy.
Do that on the ground too.
So I'm here to represent all the old people, and we don't like winter camping because it's cold.
I've heard.
I'll car camp, but I'm not camping on a tent.
No.
In the winter. I'm past that. Sorry. I'm too crotchety now.
I feel like Adrian, way back in the day, one of our like first winter trips, when we went down south, Adrian camped in the back of his Crosstrek, and he found that it was
uncomfortable
small, and it like in the winter everything gets like, even he cracked the window, so it's the same cold as or same temperature as outside. He's like, might as well just sleep on the ground at this point.
Yeah, I think if you weren't gonna do like the diesel heater, all that other junk, which I have no desire to do. No offense to the people that have done it.
Yeah,
I've only offended 1 million people already, but anyway, I would probably do like a cot in a tent, so you're not directly on the ground, and then you just do
That's
some.
what I do most of the time.
Yeah, and then we just do like the rocks on the fire, throw them under the cot, and then you'd have like a nice little sauna going on. But that's from years of camping in Cyprus, which is minus 50 at all times. So
nice and warm,
so
nice
warm.
and warm. Yeah.
But yeah, there's more comfortable ways to winter camp, but it's just, I don't know, man.
I don't know. I quite enjoy it.
I might be coerced.
I like it because, first of all, there's no one out there.
That's right.
So it's dead quiet, and doing like astrophotography, you can actually do it. Where in the summer you're like, it is 1 a.m. and there's still a little bit of light.
Right.
The fall is also nice for that, but that again, like in Drumheller, you get down to 2 degrees at night, so it's still getting a little cold. But yeah, you actually have light to do astrophotography. There's no one usually there, and it's pretty peaceful. And again, the whole challenge thing, I think, I'm one of those people that's like type 2 fun is like my type 1 fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm like, oh, a little minus 30. It's perfect, right?
Right. Yeah. 1 or 2 nights I can handle, but I know some people that go for like 4 or 5 nights, and I'm like, no, I'm over it. Like, no. Yeah. I'm going to go full on feral if I'm not there that long.
That's fair.
You should throw a diesel heater in the tent trailer.
It has a heater in it already.
Oh, well then never mind.
Fancy.
Yeah.
Propane, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Fancy.
I guess. Yeah, that thing though, I think pulling it through any of the like tracks is a little bit wider, I feel. It would be a pain.
This doesn't have a lot of ground clearance.
Yeah, and it'd be just it'd just be sliding. Which would be a whole lot of fun.
I want to try it, but yeah.
Oh my God. I'm still at the put hot water in my Nalgene bottle to keep my feet warm. That's the only thing I do for winter camping. I'm not a fancy camper at all.
No, that's the way to do it.
It's just brutal.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm just...
That's the way
I'm so impressed with people that have all these giant rigs with all this equipment and diesel heaters and everything. And I'm like, wow, that's impressive. And I'm way too lazy for that.
I want to build something like that, but I definitely totally like the Forester for getting in places where you couldn't get like a 1-ton with a camper on the back of it, or like a truck bed camper. It's like the Forester's good for those places where you're like, yeah, that ain't getting there, right? Or if you want to actually have some like keep up the pace, where we do some of the like trips through BC and you're going logging roads for all day, you're going to be doing 60, 70 on a Forester, or you're going to be doing 20 in the truck because the roads are going to just beat on that truck, right? So that's where there's always pros and cons with every kind of build, right?
Sure.
And I guess that's what we do at Flat 4, right? Is we get a lot of people like, oh, I want to do all this stuff, and it's like, well, what's your goals? And then you talk through the goals, and they're like, oh, I can save a lot of money, and I can still do what I want, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of the nice thing where my car's just like throw all the parts at it, test the parts, and then we know what can go on.
See what works and what doesn't work. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And see what it works or what it's used for. Like my coilovers, you don't really need those unless you're going more like a hardcore off-road, or you want all that travel, or like a spacer lift, or like if you want something that's like lasts for a long time and it's a nice little upgrade, like the Ironman thing, right?
Right.
But if you want to customize it, then it's like, or if you want to customize, you want different spring rates, you want to be able to adjust it, you want all this stuff that you might not get in more solidified setup, then you go with a flat out, because then you can kind of like tune it yourself. So
well, and this is what I appreciate about you guys, is because I don't know half of what you just said.
Yes, smile and nod.
I am going to smile and nod because we love Chase. But also, for those people out there that don't know what they want, it's really good to have this conversation with you guys and go, I think I want to do this. I don't really know. And you're not going to oversell. You're not going to be like, oh yeah, we'll do it. And then it doesn't work. Yeah. Because you guys already know it's not going to work. And you're honest. You're going to be like, well, that's actually not going to work. Yeah. And this is why. It will do X, Y, and Z to your car, or, whatever your vehicle. So figuring out, that's the hardest thing for me, is to figure out what my goals were, because it's like, I didn't even know what I could do.
Yeah, exactly.
And now that I know a little bit more what I can do, let's try that now.
Mhm.
I don't know what that does, but that seems fun.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
do that.
Yeah. You're
That's
like,
all I ever care about. I'm like, that seems fun. Here's some money.
yeah.
What does that do?
Ooh, that looks
yeah.
fun. Ooh, sparkly.
Yeah, exactly. It was shiny. I'm making a nest. Yeah.
Yeah. Shiny.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. No, but I think we're just about out of time. So I think I've got everything on my list. Is there anything else you want to say?
It's not very long, your list.
Hey, I'm trying,
It's
Austin.
not a list.
I'm not going to take offense to that at all.
But
Chase has a
He's just
short
trying to
list.
play it out to be more than it is. It probably took him like 20 seconds to put together.
yeah, about that. Yeah.
Talk about things.
Did you not
Stop
see I was
talking
putting it
about
in
things.
Notion like 30 seconds before we started?
No, I
was
didn't
like,
see that.
oh,
You
I
could have
need-
said you actually spent some time on it. That's fine.
No, because I was spending time on all of the other stuff.
It's because Chase knows I talk way too much.
No, you don't.
No,
Yeah,
I
that
do.
makes it easier though, because then you don't need to like
Have a list.
force
I'll
it
just
along.
talk. What else do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
We can talk about, I don't know.
Well,
What are we talking about? Pancakes? Is that not coming in
no.
today? We're not
No.
talking about pancakes today. Okay. I have a really good homemade
Didn't get a
pancake recipe.
didn't
Did
get
you-
a sponsorship.
Jen, what's your favorite type of pancake? What brand do you go off of?
I make homemade pancakes.
Oh, nice.
The recipe's in my head. It's my great grandmother's from the Ukraine,
Oh,
and it's in my head.
Oh,
and I
perfect.
make it probably 3 times a week,
Nice.
once for dinner and Saturday and Sunday for
That's-
breakfast.
It's just a versatile food.
it is a versatile food.
It's a versatile food, and I add stuff to it, and it's just the best recipe. If anybody wants it, I'll send it to you.
Go find Jen on Instagram if you want a pancake recipe
Yeah.
and Bronco Sports in photos.
That is correct. Come find me.
Yeah. No, the pancakes, there's something that I have an idea about for pancakes that you might see in this podcast later on at
Dum,
probably
dum, dum.
near the end of the season.
I don't
But
even know what you're talking
yeah,
about.
no, you don't. It is a notion, but it's like hidden because I just put it as a note so I don't forget it. But no pancakes today. No Kodiak cakes. You can go grab some Kodiak cakes next time we go to Montana to pick up the next.
Is this like a
No,
mix?
they have them all here now.
Oh,
Is Kodiak a mix?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, I don't do mixes.
It's got-
fancy.
Like a higher protein content.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you need it for like off-roading. You need that extra
So
protein.
I use like a protein powder in mine.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
I have like a vegan protein powder,
yeah.
and I have different flavors. So I have like salted caramel.
I find
mocha,
that kind of
strawberry
like
banana.
makes it harder to bake with though, because it's such a like even if you offset it with water, it always like completely
No,
fucks up what you're making.
well, it's good. It's delicious. I figured it out. There's a lot of science going on in my kitchen.
It's
the
hard
only
to
thing-
balance though. Like if you just put it in or you take half of something out and put half that in, it always screws it up. I find it's like too moist.
It's about the problem solving, right, Jen?
Austin needs more patience. The only thing that I'm good at in the kitchen is baking. I mean, I'll cook if I have to, but I hate cooking, so I don't.
Yeah.
But baking, I'll spend hours trying to perfect a pancake. And so when I started adding protein to my pancakes or fruit or whatever else I put in there, it is a science. But yeah,
I
you
used
need
to
to
put
have a bit of a balance.
flaxseed in my pancakes.
So I use chia instead
Oh,
of
yeah.
egg because I try and keep them vegan.
Yeah.
So I use chia,
Okay.
which is a replacement for egg. And if
Yeah.
you mix it with flax,
Yeah.
you get a different texture.
Yeah,
It's
no,
delicious. You didn't like it?
No, I can never make it with flax. It would always just mix it up. It always just not work. It's I like, as Austin was saying, sometimes I don't know, maybe I was just doing it wrong, but you put like the flax in, and then all of a sudden your pancakes look completely different. You're like, no, I just want a good pancake. Sorry, I can't do this.
Well, it's like adding like cinnamon to water. It'll never
Yeah.
blend.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So you need to do it in the right order, and then it'll blend. So it's science.
Yeah,
It's
just
we're just dropping some science.
yeah,
Here.
science, science.
Cooking science.
Baking is difficult. It
Yeah.
just
It's a
remind you a
science.
lot of it is just following instructions. But anyways,
That's why you need my sister. They have like a truck camper on a like a flatbed trailer. So that's how they do their camping in their Crown Land in BC. And they have pizza oven. They have all these fancy stuff.
Oh my god.
But then the other thing they have is one of those cast iron Dutch ovens.
Yeah.
So then you can bake stuff. You just like put all your stuff in there and then you just throw it in the fire. Super cool. I'm like, I really like cast iron. And when they got that, I was like, ooh,
that's awesome.
I need that. But then I'm like, that's like 20 pounds in my fork. That's like a heavy thing.
Yeah, that's the other thing I think about too is weight. It's
Yeah.
like, no, I'll just bring my jub boil. Thanks very much.
They do. Is it MSI or MSR?
MSR.
There's one company that makes a mountaineering cast iron pan.
Yes,
It's a
I think
lightweight-
it is MSR.
Yeah.
Or is it MSR? I don't know.
Or the GSR.
Maybe.
It was one of those two.
I don't remember.
Yeah, but I seen that
Makes
and I
it
was like,
easy.
ooh, that's kind of nice. I can have cast iron even when I'm backpacking.
Yep.
But yeah, this little overkill, and it's expensive.
It is very expensive.
It's like
It's crazy how cast iron's expensive. That used to be what everybody bought because it was cheaper.
It was so cheap.
Oh,
but now it's becoming like the thing.
Yeah.
So as soon as it becomes a trend, it's like, oh, we better make that more expensive.
I have some like 100-year-old cast iron from I think like my great grandpa or something that I have that I gotta like refinish and stuff. But I'm like, haha, I've got the good stuff, because a lot of the new stuff they don't even mill.
No.
So it's really rough and everything sticks to it even after like seasoning it forever. These are like nice milled ones. I'm like,
is there any cast iron people out there who would like to sponsor this podcast?
I don't even know of the cast iron brands.
Bass Pro and Cabela's sell some stuff that's made in the States.
Yeah, big thing. Wait, let's add
another disclaimer.
A disclaimer there. Companies that are made in the United States or Canada that make cast iron. We really try to support like local companies or like North American companies, because they might be a little more expensive, but like it's about supporting those local companies that we've really tried to do whenever we're like finding suppliers and stuff.
There's a guy in Ontario that does cast iron stuff. Yeah. I think so.
Or is he the guy that refinishes them, or does he make them? Because I know there's a guy.
There's a refinish guy, but no, I think there's a dude. I have him on Instagram.
Yeah, I follow the guy that refinishes them because he has some really nice ones. I'm like, I need those.
How lame am I that I follow a cast iron manufacturer on Instagram? I'm so lame.
Well, that's what's crazy is like most of it's made in overseas.
Yeah.
Correct.
So like the fact that we have the ability to do that here still as much as we should be able to is pretty shocking.
Yeah,
so.
it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll figure it out.
That's the whole...
The show notes for this episode will be 15 pages long because we didn't remember any names or places or dates.
Yeah, you're assuming that I do all that. I just let the audience. I let the audience figure that one out. I
just work here.
Yeah, that's your job. No,
yeah, that's Austin's job.
I do the description, and then I get like maybe some of the major links we talk about, and then I'm like, I don't know what else we talked about. Publish. I'm like, I don't have.
So funny.
Yeah,
that just goes against everything that I do in my job.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, this is painful.
Accountability, all like. Like citing every no.
Yeah, I'm in the legal world in case anybody cares. That's why I'm so OCD about detail.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I'm
matters more.
Yes, I mean we talk about details just in a much different sense.
Different context.
Yeah, a very different context. But I think that's where we're gonna wrap it up, because we are now at like the 1:15 mark, and I don't want to go to the 1 hour and 1.5 hours, because that's where it gets a little bit long. So we're going to wrap it up here. So thank you, Jen, so much for being on.
My pleasure. I had a riot.
We will definitely have you on again, probably even this season.
Perfect.
It'd be great to have another couple people on with, maybe have Lee and you on or something. That'd be awesome.
Oh, yeah. And we'll get nothing done. It'll be great. You guys will just sit back and relax.
Yeah. I remember.
Perfect.
I remember you text me. It's like, do I need to prepare for anything? And I was like, nope. This is just the casual podcast. Wherever it goes.
Except I did. I have in my notes, I have like 30 pages of what my trip was. Because I wasn't sure how specific we were going to get.
No, this podcast goes wherever it wants to go. So
perfect.
Yeah, but it was great having you. Great.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for coming.
My pleasure.
It's great having you be a part of the ambassador program. I think you've definitely added a lot to it. And
thank you.
Really helped build out the community. So we appreciate that.
I'm honored, and please don't make me cry, because I'm going to cry in about 10 seconds.
Well, good thing, because we are wrapping up right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the podcast, and we will see you guys in the next one. So see you later.